Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a little dose of reality.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk Fins Talk. I'm your host, Steve Molloy, and joining to me tonight on the panel, we have Finn Stanza from Overtime on the Fins Talk Sports Network. And we have Greg Miney from Overtime is joining us as well from the Fins Talk Sports Network. Actually, everybody here is on from the Fins Talk Sports Network. And down at the bottom there in the corner, in the right, I don't know if it's in the right hand or left hand corner, but we have Courtney from Doll's Diaries. So I want to thank all of you for joining tonight. I want to thank Finn Sammy for joining the chat tonight. Thank you, Finn Sammy. I know you've got a show going on at soon here. Make sure you guys can check them out as well. They put on a great show, got a great cast of characters over there. So I appreciate everybody that's joined the chat tonight. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure that if you are new to the channel or you're on any other platform, come over here to the YouTube channel, join the family over here, hit that subscribe button and share with your family and your friends and your neighbors. So I want to thank everybody that's here tonight on the panel. Greg, thank you. Courtney, thank you. Evan, thank you. Well, it's been a great week for me. I mean, I've been in celebration mode this whole week. I think some of you might be in agreement as well. We finally have gotten rid, or whatever you want to call it. Chris Grier is no longer our GM, and that's something that we've all wanted for a long time. I know I've been talking about it for about 3 or 4 years. So I'm very happy about that. And now moving forward, I don't know. That's why I got you ladies and gentlemen here tonight. We can talk about what's going to happen possibly moving forward. Now, today was the trade deadline at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The only moves we made as far as trades was Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips will be going to the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to fly like an eagle. He's free like an eagle, and he seems to be very happy, at least based on the interview that he had. He's happy to be with his buddy, Vic Fangio, and I think he's going to do great things over there. He's got a great D-line there that's going to enhance his play, and maybe he'll make a few more sacks over there than he did over here in Miami. I don't know. But so I'm going to start with you, Evan. How does this change the culture, or how does this change Miami Dolphins going forward in the future? Now, I know we hired as an interim, we have Champ Kelly, who's been with the organization for about 6 months or so. So I don't know if he's been indoctrinated enough, or I don't know if this culture has rubbed off on him enough. But it's my view that if Ross hired him, then he's in that mold of the Ross organization and the rest of the front office. Evan, how did you feel about, number one, how did you feel about the Chris Grier departure? And what do you see for the future? And what do you think of, I know it's a 3-part question, what do you think of Champ Kelly put in place as an interim?
When Chris Grier was fired, the first thing I thought about everyone else. I thought about Bobby. I thought about Greg. I thought about Greg. I thought about Brett. I thought about everybody. The only person I didn't think about was myself, because what it felt was the day that they fired Brian Flores, where you thought that was it. Like, you basically got half of the you got half the meal. You got an appetizer. Where was the main meal? Where was the dessert? And that's how a lot of people reacted. Like, I was happy to hear Chris Grier was fired, because you got rid of a problem, but you didn't get rid of the entire problem. Because in a meal, there is an appetizer, there's a main course, and there's dessert. Unfortunately, 2 parts of the meal are still on this team. Now, one, you're sort of stuck with until the end of the year, until you can figure out what a new general manager or a new coach wants to do with number one. But in 2022, I flagged an issue. I flagged an issue that there was a guy who was on the sidelines who may have been more stubborn than his predecessor. And we are now 3 years later, 3.5 years later, and he's actually worse. He's actually has a worse record. He has a worse demeanor. It's actually possible he's worse at press conferences. So Chris Grier going is great. But what does that do for the team on the field? I think the first reaction was, wow, they got rid of Chris Grier because they're going to actually go towards the deadline and they're going to make actual fundamental changes to the football team. They got rid of Jalen Phillips, which, by the way, Greg might actually agree with this, might actually make your team better. No offense, it might actually make your team better. Because on his fifth-year option, where you have to have a swift kick in your butt to actually play better, the guy was like Vaseline, Jalen Phillips, and couldn't pick up a sack unless it was garbage time. So he may actually make your team better and give other people playing time because he actually wasn't helping your football team. You got a third-round pick, great. And then today you start seeing all the trades come through, which usually trade deadline 10, 11 trades is usually the max you'll see, and nothing was happening. I didn't like Waddle. Unless you were getting a 1+, whatever, that's fine. Keep Waddle, you need your wide receiver. But Bradley Chubb, you could save a lot of money on the cap. There's no guarantee you're going to be able to trade him at in the off season. I think he may be a free agent. I don't know, but you're not going to be able to trade him for nearly what you have now. So for me, you fired Chris Grier, phenomenal. It was time for him to go. But it was out with the old, in with the new, never changes. Because Mike McDaniel isn't going to change, and the team isn't going to get better. So the fact that there even is an inkling that he might actually have the ability to stay is a problem with the team to begin with. And I always refer to the real estate concept. When you tear down a house, you don't look at the foundation and see what pieces of the foundation can you keep and salvage and build on top of that. You're talking, like, the guy's a multi-billionaire, and his success is building from the ground up. And the man literally basically pulled a piece like Jenga from the middle of the pile and forgot about the bottom, which is the person on the actual field. So for me, it didn't matter today. What was proven today is that he's hoping he can save Mike McDaniel's job. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up winning 5-6 games because Washington's injured. New Orleans is not very good. Cleveland's choking it away. Cincinnati's choking it away. They're probably going to end up with 6 wins. They're going to pick 10th or 11th. And it will be, and McDaniel will be back. Tua will be back. Chem Kelly will be the GM. And it will be the same old, same old. And not to say that if you dump everybody, will things be better? But try something. This is the same MO of Stephen Ross since 2008. So he's number one to blame. But in the end, I know what's going to happen. McDaniel will be back next year. Tua will be back next year. Chem Kelly will be your GM. And we'll be in third place again next year because the Jets will be worse than us. And we'll be a 4, a 5, anywhere between a 6 to an 8-win team until, I don't know, until I said it on our group chat, till I become a Jets fan. Because at one point, Ross is literally, how many people I know that have quit on their season tickets? It's unbelievable. So for me, guys, this is just laughable. I tell Greg this all the time when we chat. I'm laughing through our football game. And we're going to lose, honestly, we're going to lose by 60 on Sunday. 60. Like, it's not funny anymore. Now, if they told me Tua's bench for the rest of the season, I'll believe Mike McDaniel. But what he said on Monday, I'm not benching Tua. He gives us the best chance to win. Why do you want to win? Why do you want to win? You can't make the playoffs. So what is your accomplishment here exactly? To pick later in the draft? What exactly are we trying to accomplish with this football team? So for me, Grier is great, but until you get rid of Tua, until you get rid of McDaniel, it doesn't matter. We're going to suck.
Courtney, how are you feeling?
I'm happy. No one touched Waddle or Achane, and frankly, that's all I cared about. So I'm gonna live on my happiness there because I would have probably jumped off a ledge if they did. I thought that was stupid. Keep those 2 pieces in. I do think it's stupid we didn't get rid of Chubb. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the difference is. What was that? Listen, Adrian, I only take that on a Friday night. Calm down. Okay, it's a school night. I got to get up early. Anyway, I would have liked, I don't know. I haven't really been on X as much because it's been like a insane cesspool of Dolphins fans just like losing their minds. But I'm wondering what was offered for Chubb and what we wanted. Like, I'm not sure how far the disconnect is.
Right.
Because I feel like it couldn't have been too bad. I mean, I'm fine with Phillips. I think we all knew Phillips was going to be gone. Of course, he comes to Philly. Everybody seems to come up here when we get rid of them. He can go back with his, crypt keeper. But it's like we're half-assing another rebuild. I agree with Evan. The Jets are being better at this demolishing than we are. Frankly, I'm shocked that anybody paid 2 first-rounders for Sauce Gardner. But I will run a background check on him. I already have. I don't know why Ross loves McDaniel so much. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I know that we're stuck with Tua for at least another year. Like that, I think everybody's accepted. Like that was inevitable. He could be benched though. I don't see why we're like, let's stick with Tua. I mean, the only reason it made sense to stick with Tua for the rest of the season is if you were continuing your tank, because he's not going to lead you to win a football game. So like if they were like, yeah, we're going to keep Tua for the rest of the season. Yeah, cool. You're definitely planning to tank because he's absolute dog shit. But it's we want to save McDaniel's job. There's no saving his job. He has failed his job. And I think he'll go on to be a great offensive coordinator somewhere else. I think,
I agree.
Like go do that. But you're handicapping your team and you're handicapping your fan base. And I just don't understand Ross. And it sucks because that's the one piece that like, I know everybody complains about. It's the one piece we can't change. We can't change the ownership of our team unless we all want to pour together resources and somehow like the fans take ownership of the Miami Dolphins. I'd be in for that. But I just don't get it. I don't get the hype around McDaniel. I don't understand why Ross is like, no, like Ross's mind should be, let's just like nuke it. Like I'm going to push the red button on the president. Like, let's just nuke this. But I don't think that we have enough talent to really win 6 more games. I know Evan's like scared of that, but like I really honestly don't even think we have the talent to do it. So Chop's in protocol. So who knows when he's coming back. He's really been silent all year. Other than Achane, I think Ollie's hurt too, or his foot. I haven't seen an update on like if he's coming back. Last I saw it was like day to day. So I mean, really, you have Tua that's going to throw balls that aren't going to be completed. He's probably going to throw, 10 more interceptions on the season, and our defense already couldn't stop anything. Chubb, maybe he wanted to leave. I don't think he's going to try as hard because he's probably done. Phillips is gone. So I don't think we're going to win 6 games. I think that's crazy to think that we're going to win 6 more games. I do think we're not going to be like top 5 pick because the Jets have already committed themselves to tanking. That's why they did a fire sale. But I don't think we need to worry about winning 6 more games for God's sake, because we just don't have the talent on the field. Other than Waddle and Achane. But Tua can't get Waddle the ball, and poor Achane is going to probably get hurt because they just brutalize him, and the offensive line is not doing what they need to do for him, and McDaniel doesn't utilize him properly. But that's where I stand. Yeah.
And I think I think the reason why the Dolphins didn't do the fire sale, number one, I think they believe that the players that they have in place are of higher value. They think they could have got more for them. Right. And that's one reason. That's just a theory. That's one reason why I think that, but I could be wrong. Greg, how are you feeling and what are you thinking?
Well, I'm ecstatic that they got rid of Grier. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happened on Friday, I was like, yes, this is the start. And now I'm wondering if it's not the finish. Is this a power play for McDaniel? Is Ross going to give McDaniel the keys to the kingdom? Is McDaniel picking the next GM? All right. Is McDaniel has he positioned himself with Ross to make Grier the fall guy and say, my roster sucked. What did you want me to do with it? All right. I came in, I got the best out of Tua. Now let me go pick my own quarterback. And if we got to play Tua one more year, we got to play Tua one more year. All right, before we get rid of him. But I just wonder if the keys to the candy store are now in McDaniel's hands. And what's that going to be? Because I wouldn't do that. But, hell, this organization's been doing, 20 years of things I wouldn't have done. So, I mean, it's not that surprising to me. As far as the Phillips trade is you got what you could. If I'm Philly, I'm basically kind of, as a gambler, I'm betting on the come, is basically I'm anticipating Phillips needing that full year to get fully healthy from the injury. And that should happen with like 4 or 5 games left. So maybe he can find that next gear. And plus his best year was with, the Philadelphia DC.
That's
so
right.
Take a shot with it. Right. I am sort of surprised that nobody else was moved off the Dolphins. I didn't think that they would trade Waddle unless they got, just an incredible return for it. I didn't think they'd get any, they'd trade to Achane, but Chubb, I'm surprised he's still, Judon, is there another player that they could have traded, here or there? Would somebody have taken like Melifanu, who needed some secondary help?
I didn't think of that.
There's some veteran players on here that I thought if you could get something for them, it probably isn't a bad move to go get it. Right. I would be interested, and I don't think we'll ever hear this, but I would be interested to see if there were any offers for Waddle and what those offers were, to see what kind of the league thinks of Waddle. But it is what it is at this point. At the beginning of the season, all right, if you would have said something along the lines of, you would be playing the Ravens, and the Ravens were a 2-win team on that Thursday night. Buffalo is Buffalo. Okay, whatever. But the Commanders are injured all over the place, and they just got blown out this weekend. All right. This was this toughest part of the schedule when we looked at it. We're like, oh crap, the Dolphins, this is going to be a brutal stretch. It's not a brutal stretch anymore. If the Dolphins were the team we thought they should have been at the beginning of the year, these were, 2 or 3 of these games should be very winnable. But now there isn't a winnable game. I'm not even counting the Saints as a winnable game. So
wow.
I kind of agree with Courtney here. If we get to 5 wins this year, I'd be kind of surprised. I don't see that many more wins on this with this roster and with this schedule right now. They're just not a very good football team. And maybe they'll put it together like they did against Atlanta, and they might surprise, get a win here or there. But there's not going to be anywhere near any consistency with this team. It's just not. But the big fear going into 26 now is who's going to be running this thing? Is it McDaniel? If it is, oh crap! All right, we're not in a good place there, and I can just see season ticket holders just basically leaving in the droves if that's the case. So Ross, your money. You've already said no ticketing price increases. It still might not keep people, but we'll see.
Yeah, and bingo, you hit the nail on the head, Greg. I think That's my biggest fear, is that we're going to run it back with Champ Kelly. As I said in the beginning of the show, he's a Ross guy. He's that's what Ross likes. He likes a yes man, and that's what I feel Champ
Well,
Kelly is.
Is he a Ross guy or is he a McDaniel guy? And that'd be
Both.
my question.
Both, because McDaniel is a Ross guy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he gave an extension, so I think it's going to be a marriage made in heaven for these guys.
I also wonder how much leeway they gave Champ Kelly for this trade. Like, who was actually running it? Because was it really Champ making the decisions?
No.
Or was it McDaniel making these decisions? Was it Ross putting, everyone's kind of gunning for Champ right now, saying he failed. How much leeway did they really give the interim GM? How much faith did they place in him?
Thank you, John. I appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you so very much. Appreciate that. You bring up a very good question, Courtney, and that went through my mind as well. Who actually is making calling the shots? Now, if you want my opinion, probably none of you probably want my opinion because it means nothing, right? But I'm going to give it to you anyway. My opinion is it is it Stillman or Stillman? Garfinkel. Yeah, Garfinkel, Stillman, Ross, and McDaniel by committee. That's who I think are making these calls. Of course, Ross has the final last word, but I think it's by committee, just like it's been going on for the last 2 or 3 years. It's all by committee.
I just can't.
Nobody can be held accountable, right?
I just can't see them being like, yeah, Champ, you've had like 4 days. Whatever you want to do, we'll do. You lead this. I don't see that. I see them being like, yeah, you can field the calls, but we're going to be the ones that tell you yes or no.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that a lot of people are forgetting that it's been like 4 or 5 days on this guy. I don't think that he had anything more to do than just answer that phone and call people back as the interim GM. He made not a single decision.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's what I see. Yeah,
I mean,
very good point.
You really can. And the question is who. Let's just say on the Phillips trade, the question is, you got this offer from Philadelphia. Who was the person that said yes, let's do this? And was that person a football person, or was it Ross or Garfinkel or somebody like that? I mean. And if it was a football person, there's only 2 left and that could have made the decision. You got McDaniel, who's been here 4 years and basically, in my opinion, has sort of gotten a vote of confidence, or you got a guy who's been here 6 months.
Yeah.
Who should be interviewing for the full-time job that just opened up on Friday. So to me, the only way I can make this make sense, and the only way, just how my mind works, right? There has to be a plan. There has to be somebody executing the plan. And the fact that we don't know what that is, it drives me nuts. But the only person capable of executing this would be McDaniel right now. And that scares the crap out of me. So, anyway.
All right. Evan, I know that you've got to bounce. You're on mute. You're muted.
I'll just add a couple more things just quickly before I got to bounce. Kids come first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just overall, let's just think about it from this perspective. If Mike McDaniel wants a future job somewhere, unless he is guaranteed something from Ross, he needs to try and win. He still needs to pad his resume. If he ends this season 4-13, no team is going to want to hire him as a coordinator. Period. Not even San Francisco. The man is systematically regressed every year he's coached. Now, good guy, but if I hear any more ums from a human being in my life, I think babies have less trouble speaking than this man does.
Yeah,
like the guy needs a speechwriter. All to say, this team right now is still built to potentially win a game or two, because all they've done is get rid of Jalen Phillips. And if you look at all the other players on the team, they've been in games, whether it was against New England, whether it was against Carolina, whether it was against, it doesn't matter. Any given Sunday, look what happened the Jets being the Bengals. Look what happened with the Bengals bowling into the Bear. Every game there's someone or something. And for me right now, to be 2-7 and literally do nothing at the deadline except get rid of a player who was on his 5th-year option who you weren't going to re-sign anyways, that is a complete and utter failure, and just so Dolphins. So for me right now, this team is going to be mediocre, and is going to be a body-feeding, laughing stock of a football team as long as Mike McDaniel. Because what makes it worse is that Bobby said in the group chat, well, we're already a laughing stock. Yeah, we're a laughing stock, but it could get worse. We could start laughing at ourselves. I actually watch these games and used to get angry.
Yep.
Now I watch these games and I laugh. I laugh at my own football team. We're an embarrassment to the football culture because we don't do anything intelligent. We don't do things halfway. We wake up in the morning and we go outside wearing one shoe. We go outside and we put on a bathing suit when it's minus 50 out. That's what the Dolphins do. We do everything ass backwards, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, you know what's going to happen on Sunday? People are going to go, oh, watch, in the end, watch what's going to do. I think we're going to lose by 50. Watch, it's going to be a close game, and then we'll do something stupid. That's what we do. Mike McDaniel is not a closer. Like, Mike McDaniel is not a leader. Mike McDaniel, and the whole thing with Tua, we're going to find out. I'm going to tell you this right now before I got to go, because you beautiful people can handle it without me. If Tua Tagovailoa is your quarterback for the rest of the season, that proves to me Tua was not forced upon McDaniel. McDaniel truly believes Tua gives him the best opportunity to win, and he's going to ride or die with his sleepover buddy. And if that is the case, that's fireable on its face. But sorry, Stephen Ross, if we get destroyed the next 2 weeks, or we lose in Spain on the global stage without Jaden Daniels for the Commanders, and you lose to the Bills in embarrassing fashion on Sunday, and you still don't fire Mike McDaniel, the team needs to riot. The fan base at the stadium needs to start throwing things on the field. Like, it's at the point where you have to speak up. This is a joke. It's an absolute, utter joke. And it, like Brett once said, which scares me to death, and regrets it, that they're going to give Mike McDaniel his shot with the pick his general manager and player personnel. What has he ever shown? The man, when he talks at the podium, he can't even reel in Tua. Tua says the dumbest things in the world. Do you think any head coach would ever, outside of Mike McDaniel, would let Tua get away with the nonsense that he spews at the podium? I can't see over a line. You people should be eating potato chips. I don't throw interceptions in bunches. The guys, like, this is what he allows people to do. But anyways, beautiful people, have a wonderful show. Love you all.
Evan, real quick before you go, where can we find you? Where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere. You saw me on, I did On Deck all week for the baseball playoffs. You can catch me on Finns Talk Today when I'm on, pregame and postgame show on the Finns Talk Sports Network. I'll jump on Finns Faithful with George. I'll jump on with Finns Talk Overtime. I'll do Doll's Diaries. Wherever FTSN is going, wherever there's a great Dolphins podcast or there's a baseball podcast, anything like that, you'll find Finns Stanza.
Okay, brother. Thank you very much, Evan.
Greg will be in touch. We'll plan overtime. Doll, we'll speak.
All right, brother. Thank you, man.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
Oh.
Yeah, Evan's great, man.
We just got close up real fast.
Yeah, it did. It kind of threw me off. I was like, "Whoa, what?"
Ooh, don't scare.
Yeah, but anyway, so I mean, man, I think us three are probably in agreement. I think, McDaniel might be going on for the ride again another year, and I think him and Tua are going to be here. Champ Kelly, I think he's the man in place right now. I think it's a permanent fixture for this Miami Dolphins organization, unfortunately. But if it's not, and Steve Ross comes to his senses and the rest of the committee, and say Champ isn't the permanent fixture here in Miami, who do you guys have any? Are you ladies and guys, do you have anybody in mind that you'd be interested? And if you don't have anybody in mind by name, what type of GM would you like? And I'll start with you, Doll.
I said it on Friday. I really like the assistant GM of the Eagles. I keep forgetting his name. The young guy.
Hallaby. Mm-hmm.
Like him. But you have to, if you don't get him, you have to get somebody that has a storied tenure under a winning, successful franchise. You're thinking Pittsburgh, Eagles, Kansas City, any of those. Not somebody that comes from, like, nothing against Champ, came from the Raiders. What do they know? I don't want somebody coming from Jacksonville, anywhere that's just had a recent rebuild or is, the Bengals, the Browns. Like, stay away. Somewhere that has a storied Ravens, a solid history and functional front office. That's what I want. I don't want somebody wet behind the whistle too much. Like, I want them to have been there a couple years, have learned, but young enough that they do have some, like, new ideas, some connects, whatever. But that's kind of where I'm going with it. But I think that if we keep up with this bullshit and we keep talking, we keep having this McDaniel show and the Tua show, no one's going to even want to apply for the job. Like, these potential GMs are looking at what we're doing. They're watching our owner. They're watching our franchise. We're a laughingstock right now. Who of anybody of real talent or real skill or reputation is going to want to say, yeah, that's where I want to go, except I'm not going to have freedom. I'm not going to choose my head coach. My head coach is kind of running things. I'm stuck. I'm locked in on Tua. And anytime I make a decision, I have to go run it through Ross, Garfinkel, and McDaniel first. And I can't just, I can't just make the changes that need to be made. I'm locked. You're going to lose a lot of good talent if they continue with this. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, and I think that's spot on. Who is going to want to come here? What GM is going to want to come in this mess? Unless it's a GM, maybe, as you said, a young guy like a Halby, maybe. If he's smart, he probably won't. But if he's looking to move up and get a GM job, that might be an ideal position for him here in Miami because of the challenge, right? He's a Harvard graduate. He's played football, and maybe that would be a challenge for him to try to get this, organization in place, and going in the right direction. If, like you said, the committee allows him to do so. But I don't know. Greg, how about you? What kind of GM would you like to see? And let me ask you another question real quick. Would you be opposed to an experienced type coach like what's his name, Peterson or Doug Peterson or someone in that, someone in that realm, like, and maybe a Harbaugh, maybe not as, all the accolades like a Harbaugh, but somebody it's been through some championships, it's been through some playoffs, it's been with some good teams. Somebody like that maybe come in and maybe a coach like that come in and maybe pick his own GM like those guys have done. Or are you opposed to that?
No, I'm not. I'm not opposed. There's a couple ways I would do this. All right. And it's not a blending of anything, it's basically you got to go this route or you got to go this other route, in my opinion. All right. Mm-hmm. The first one is you get a veteran head coach, somebody that's been a head coach before, who can then come to the organization and basically bring the people that he wants with them. Okay. He pick his GM, pick his assistant GM, pick his scouting department, so on and so forth. All right. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound weird, but I'm going to say this like this anyway. I don't even really care if they've won as a head coach in the NFL. All right.
Okay.
And part of the reason why I say that is becoming a first-time head coach, especially in the NFL, the learning curve is just massive, right? How to run the organization and so on and so forth. When you take all of that into account and then you factor in, all the your on-field duties and stuff like that, it can kind of be overwhelming for the first-time coach. So that's why a lot of second-time coaches are more successful the second time, is because they kind of have the first part figured out. So I'm good with that. The other way I would build this is I would hire a young GM, all right, somebody who is with today's football and not somebody tied to like Bill Parcells and Jimmy Johnson and, people from a generation or two away, right? Let's think about it as modern football and modern way of doing things, understanding why passing the ball is so important and why the game theory says that you get better results out of throwing the ball than running the ball, stuff like that, right? Bring that person in and then let them pick the head coach as well. Somebody that aligns with that vision. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of like two ways of doing this, but I don't think you can hire an old time coach and then bring in a young GM and have them they're just not going to match. Right. So you kind of got to go either direction. And I don't really care which direction they go. I just think they need that synergy and that path to figure it out. And my personally, the way I would do this is I want the young GM. I want modern football. I want modern team building. I want modern, analytics, governing draft picks and things like that. I want that. And I want that person to pick the GM or to pick the head coach. That's where I'm leaning. And I agree with Courtney. My top pick is the assistant GM for the Eagles. He's young.
Mine too.
He's young. He's analytical. He's with a successful franchise. I mean, he's checking off a lot of boxes for me. And I would back up the Brinks truck and bring him in. I'll just say it that way. And I'm a Cubs fan. And when they did that with Theo Epstein, brought in the young GM and things like that after years of these crotchety old pieces of crap, right? I was cheering for it. And we were bad for a couple years with Theo, but he had a plan. They stuck to that plan, and basically they won a World Series. So I'm kind of partial to that way of thinking right now.
Yeah, I like that perspective. I really do. John here, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, John. He says, let Lane Griffin for the next head coach. How do you feel about that, Courtney? Do you know much about him?
I don't know much about him. Didn't he is he the one who just got fired from college football?
I don't know much about him either, to be honest.
He's at Ole
Greg,
Miss now.
Ole Miss,
He's at
right?
Ole Miss
Okay.
now. He was at Tennessee. He coached with he
I don't want
was
it then.
offensive coordinator at Alabama for in between the two stints.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a non-NFL coach. I don't want somebody fresh from college. I want somebody that's played or not played, but like coached in the NFL. We all know who I want. And I stand by. I have the different version of I wanted an old tenured, old school, hard ass kind of coach because I think that's the culture reset that we need in the locker room in Miami. I also don't disagree with Greg's, bring a young guy in and have him who he wants. I just think because of the soft, freelance nature that our locker rooms had, that if we brought somebody in that was, an old kind of Shula kind of guy, reset that shit real fast and let players know this ain't the old Miami anymore. We are here about football fundamentals, and we're going to bring that, back to this team. But that's why I wanted to go old crotchety hard ass.
Yeah. And that's true. We got to go back to basics, man. We got to play football one-on-one. All this fancy smoke and screen stuff. I mean, I guess it works. It did work in the beginning, but after a while, folks, especially players, if you play against a disciplined defense, it stays in their lanes, and you got a smart defensive coordinator, they figure that stuff out real quick, as we saw. Greg, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say, Flores was the first-time head coach, and he was that hard ass, and going to his training camps and watching him and his staff work, it was fun. I'm an old guy. I am that way. All right. I appreciated that. Just sending grown ass men to the TNT wall to run and touch it and stuff like that. I was like, all right, take me back to my high school days, right? So it was kind of fun, and I'm not opposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
The game of football has changed. All right. It's different now than it was 10, even 15, 20 years ago. All right. And I think you have to adapt to it. And I think one of the things that Miami has failed to do is not really adapt to it. And you don't necessarily have to be young to do that. Andy Reid's adapted. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of old, John Harbaugh has adapted. He's not the same coach he was 18 years ago when he started. So you don't necessarily have to be young. You just gotta understand the game for what it is now compared to what it was. And I think Miami has missed that boat. But my dream would be to find the next Sean McVay. But that's easier said than done. And I think 30 some odd teams would like to find that guy too. But
I think Miami's problem is that they started valuing the wrong football. They were all about flash and speed and, the skill positions. And they wanted to, they lost track of what I think even today's the trenches. They lost track of what a solid offensive line, a solid ground and pound running game, and a solid defense can do. They want to be flashy and the trick moves and the motions and the pre-motions. Like they wanted to create their own way, I think. And for years, Miami is not known to hit hard and to just have that just fundamental, trenches. And I would really like a coach that brings that back and brings that, hey, the league's changing, players are more physical, positions adapt. But at the end of the day, you need this offensive line. You need that running game to take the pressure off your quarterback. And you need your defense to fundamentally wrap a flipping tackle, open field tackling, just the basics. And then once you have that down and your team can do that, then you can do the fancy stuff. You can do the most, you can throw that in. But if you don't identify as that physical upfront team, it's never going to work. And I think Miami, as Chris Grier said, was more worried about the offensive line than the fans were. And they were like, let's get Tyreek. Let's get this. Let's look how fast we are. Oh, we're the whatever. What was it? The turf thing, whatever. You know what I mean? They had all their nicknames and the speed. Like they prioritized the wrong thing and they weren't playing national football anymore. They were playing their own backyard game and it caught up to them real fast. So I just want somebody that values what I value. And if I could sit in on the interview, I'd appreciate it.
I got the hotline right here. I'll put in a good word for you.
Excuse me, just Ross, if I could just ask a couple questions real quick about the offensive line, just really fast.
Be careful. But I agree. There's somebody that we haven't talked about, and I'll start with Greg first. What do you think about Anthony Weaver? How do you feel? I mean, do you feel he has the talent? You think it's a talent thing with this defense this year, or you think it's just that the offense isn't taking advantage of the times that the defense does give them the ball, get them back on the field, or, we're not playing complementary football. I know it's tough for a defense, to stay on the field and then, they get a turnover or they get, 3 and out, and then the offense come back on the field and they can't do anything. They're like one and done in a minute. I mean, what's your take on that, Greg?
Schemes are nice and everything. It still comes down to Jimmy and Joe's. All right. And I think there's a serious lack of talent in the secondary. And that is really handcuffing what he can do and what he can't do. All right. Especially if you consider that the front line, the pass rushers and stuff like that aren't performing at the level individually that we thought they would this year. All right. So you can't blitz because you don't want to leave your secondary on an island. All right. And you can't bring that safety in the box to help shut down the run because your front isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So he's kind of in a no-win situation right now. And look, I'm an old coach. All right. I tend to blame players more than I do coaches and schemes. All right. And because I know how limiting the players can make you scheme wise. And that's basically what I'm seeing offensively and defensively in a way with Miami this year is just the players are so limiting that there's just not a whole heck of a lot they can do. Now, that said, if Miami's offense was getting out to leads early in the game, that would help this defense out quite a bit. They, the Atlanta game, the perfect storm, whatever you want to call it there, getting the ball, getting out in front, and then basically, committing to shutting down Robinson because you didn't fear their passing game without their starting quarterback and without London, who, if you watch the game on Sunday against the Patriots, London and Gonzalez was a hell of a matchup, and having your starting quarterback in makes a big difference. So it's Miami needs a whole new secondary. And if you gave Weaver a good secondary, this defense would look a lot different, in my opinion.
Yeah. So basically, you're fine with Weaver right now. You don't think he's on the hot seat or anything like that?
I don't, especially if he's got a good reputation in the league. All right. And having one bad year is not going to really ruin that reputation. Right. It's a Jimmy and Joe's thing. All right. He doesn't have the horses that he needs on his defense to perform at a very high level. And I think the league recognizes that. I don't have a problem keeping him if he stays.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think you're on track. I think you're tracking. I think it's a talent issue with this defense. And I know, again, it goes back to the Miami Dolphins value. They think their players are more higher value, higher ceilings than a lot of NFL coaches, I think, or organizations do. And it's a talent issue with this team, I think. Courtney, how do you feel about Weaver?
I like Weaver. I don't have a problem with him. And I think that he'll have no problem getting a job somewhere else. I don't mind him staying here. I think that he's getting a pass because of how bad McDaniel, Grier, the offense is. I've been saying for 3 years, banging the drum on how depleted our secondary is, how we don't prioritize filling the secondary. We didn't have anybody there when X went down. We were promised Ramsey and Xavier Howard, and we only had not even half a season of them. And then we had Ramsey and Kader Kohu, and Grier hasn't hit on the secondary in a long time. And there's only so much you can do. The front seven's been awful this year. Yeah. But the secondary has been just as bad as we think it has. And you have to that came down to Grier and drafting, but I don't think what could we have done? I mean, they went and they got him Chop Robinson. They went and got him Kenneth Grant. They have been trying to get him things. It's just, I don't think they were getting him the right pieces that you need to win now. We all know how I felt about the Chop pick. We all know who I wanted. I wanted offensive both years. I mean, first round has not gone. I wanted offensive line the first round 2 years in a row, and we went defense. But I think that if you gave him a new GM, you gave him, maybe let him, I don't know how much input he had on what guys he wants. But the Dolphins defense is not going to be fixed in a year with one draft. It's going to take a couple of years to go out and get the pieces that we need, especially in the secondary. But scheme wise, I don't think it's been terrible. I think if you had better players, like Rasul Douglas hasn't been awful. He's really the only secondary player I think we have back there.
He's been solid.
Brooks has been tremendous. He's making most of our tackles. You have a couple of the pieces, but the problem is that you don't have unity on either side. Like you just have, like I've been saying this all season, like you just have backyard football on the Dolphins right now. Like these dudes are just out there playing and there's no cohesion. There's no unity. They're not feeding off of each other. They're just out here doing it. And the problem is like when you call the zones, you can see like everybody thinks somebody else has somebody, and no one's like they're not unified. They're just a bunch of dudes out there playing football. But I don't think it's completely Weaver's fault. I think that if he had some solid guys in there, that he could be doing more.
I mean, the starting cornerbacks on this team should be Igbenogany, a first-round draft pick, and Cam Smith, a second-round draft pick. All right, those should be your starters, and neither one of them can play in this league. All right.
Yep.
Cater Kohu, who is probably what your best secondary corner, was an undrafted free agent. All right. I mean, we talk about Grier being bad at his job. It's these kind of things that make him bad at his job.
Let's not forget, we only drafted Cam Smith because his son was buddies with Cam Smith. Like let's be real about what that really was. We talked about this on the show. That was nepotism at its finest.
But you consistently have first and second round picks who can't play. All right. And your first and second round picks are the ones who are supposed to be your core players. All right. Maybe not great players, maybe not Hall of Fame players, but they got to be starters, and they got to be quality starters. I mean, Grant, Chop Robinson, this year are rated as some of the bottom players at their positions in the league. All right.
Yeah.
Those are your last two first-round picks. You can't have that. You can't be good at that. All right. And just, I say this all the time. Okay. Grier has been was with the organization for 25 years. He was GM for 10 years. All right. Name a player drafted by Miami in those 25 years that's going to the Hall of Fame. There's not one. And X is the best. And as much as I love X and I thought he was a great player for Miami, he's not going to get a sniff at the Hall of Fame. All right.
He has too many off the field problems. I mean, play wise, I'll vote for him I'll vote for him every year. Yeah. I will ring that bell for Xavier Howard on the field wise, but I think that his personal life,
it's a losing battle arguing Xavier Howard with.
Yeah, don't even try. Like
the last player, I just forgot his name. But the last player to win like Rookie of the Year, either offensively or defensively for Miami, is like Troy Stafford. From like 19.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay. The last one that we haven't had one finish in the top 3 in the last 20 years. I mean, it's that bad. All right. That's how bad the traffic has been in Miami. It's horrendous.
And to piggyback on what Courtney said about the nepotism and all that kind of stuff, I didn't know this, and don't ask me how I found this out because I don't remember, but Jonah Sevaniah, worse than Liam Eichenberg in my opinion. He played for the same high school that Tua Tagovailoa played. Not only that, but before he was even drafted, Tua Tagovailoa did the documentary. I don't know if you all remember or heard about it, about the Hawaiian players coming out and all that kind of stuff, the documentary. Mm-hmm. He was starred in that documentary. And lo and behold, we drafted him. And he's probably the worst player on the offensive line right now. The worst.
Have you seen Larry
in the
Borum?
NFL.
Have you seen Larry Borum play?
He's not as bad as Jonah Sevaniah.
Larry Borum is
bad.
On the hit list. Borum's
he's bad,
on the hit list
but he's not.
Week.
Yeah. He had a terrible game this last week for sure. But yeah, so it's crazy. And I've never seen a team in 3 to 4 years, when McDaniel first started with this team, let's say 2023, they went from one of the top offenses in all of football, at least top 5, top 10, whatever. I don't remember now. At one point, they were number 1, all the way down to like, what are they, 27, 28 now? That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's all about containing the big play.
Yeah.
You look at 2023. Miami was, I think, second in the league in plays of chunk yardage, like 10+ yard runs and 20+ yard receptions. Now they're down in like 28th in that.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And why is essentially defense is just backed up. Okay. And to contain Waddle and Hill, and they're saying, okay, Achane, run the ball. You got to run through the entire defense to get your 10 yards. And eventually, because we don't trust your O-line, somebody's going to miss a block. Somebody's going to have, something's going to happen. You're going to lose 2 yards as opposed to gaining, 4 yards or whatever. And now you're behind the sticks, and now you got to throw the ball, and we're going to just tackle you when you catch it. You combine that with the fact that Tua can't make throws to all areas of the field, and defenses know he can't make those throws.
What are you talking about? He throws a beautiful interception in the middle of the field. I don't know what you're talking about. Watch some tape, Greg. Watch some tape.
We could have an
beautiful ball he throws.
We can have an entire show about how Tua's not reading defenses that a high school kid should be able to read.
I was going to say, my 12-year-old knows, like, you don't panic throw to the middle of the field. Like, you don't do it. And it's Tua's favorite thing to do. Oh, don't know what to do? I'm going to throw right to the middle of the field where there's 3 defenders. Beautiful ball.
Those
right
3 picks. Those 3 picks
every time.
The 3 picks that he threw at Cleveland were so god awful, just from a fact that he wouldn't even attempt those throws. That I think. Look, I hope this is the case, and I know hope's not a strategy, but I hope that broke something in McDaniel, because even McDaniel at a certain point was just get the hell off my field. All right, because that throw into the cover 3 was just god awful, and he's made some god awful decisions that quarterbacking 101 shouldn't be making.
I feel like
how about that grounding? How about that grounding call? Intentional grounding. That was terrible.
The grounding call was horrendous. His decision to throw to Achane on the fade with Hamilton guarding him, all right, was horrendous. It's just it's bad fundamental football that no quarterback at that level should be making that decision.
Yeah.
I have a theory that if you tested him, he would have a below NFL average football IQ. Because you hear them talk about football IQ a lot. Like Peyton Manning has a high IQ. You can see when he breaks it down and he knows the coverage. And if you ever watch his Manning cast, it's tremendous. I think that Tua does not have that level of IQ. Not saying that he's stupid. I'm talking football IQ. And that's why he can't read a defense. That's why he makes these throws. He doesn't understand what's coming at him, what to anticipate. I just don't think that the dude has a good football IQ. He may know the plays. Yeah. He can memorize the play call. He may, but I don't think he understands fundamentally football IQ the way, I'm not saying that I do, because I know people come for me, the way that an NFL caliber starting quarterback should have that level of IQ and anticipation and understanding of the play and the reads. I think that he just knows, okay, they called a fade to Achane. I'm going through the fade to Achane. Oh, I can't. This guy looks open. I'm throwing it here, but it's the middle of the field and he doesn't read the blitz cut. Like, that's what I think in my small female brain.
Quarterbacks fail in the NFL because of this type of stuff. It's the mental part of the game in which they fail at. They all can physically play the game at this level. They wouldn't be in the NFL if they couldn't physically play the game. It's the mental part of it that they fail at. And, it's when you see these types of mistakes and they're mental mistakes. He physically throws the interception, but it's a mental mistake to even throw it there, right? And he's 6 years into the league now. It's just not going to get any better. It really is not going to get any better. And that's the part where Miami's stuck right now. They're just stuck right now with that because it's not going to get any better.
I agree, and this is just my little theory. I think number one, I think, and you can see it when he was going to throw that Hail Mary. Remember the Hail Mary throw? He was tap dancing the Irish, river dance or whatever, and then he just went down. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? I don't think. Well, I think partly it's because of his arm. He didn't have the arm strength to get it down there. And number two, I think a lot of his playing this year, I'm going to attribute it to his injury history. I think he's afraid of getting hit. Because he knows he's one hit away from seriously, possibly getting retired out of football. I think that's what he's concerned with, and that's one reason. And number two, I think those concussions that he's had, and he's had one in college too that a lot of folks didn't know about. He had a concussion in college, so that's 6 concussions that he's had. I think it's caught up with him. His the hip injury he had. I think all of that has just caught up with him, and it's affecting him mentally and physically. That's just my 2 cents. So I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you for joining the chat tonight. I see all of you in there. I really appreciate it. I was really got focused on the panel here, so I apologize if I didn't recognize you, but I do, and I appreciate you joining. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit that little bell down there. Subscribe, share with your friends, your families, and your neighbors. Man, this has really been a great discussion. Courtney and Greg, I really appreciate you joining the show tonight. A lot of interesting points, really great perspectives. And that's why I like to do these panels, get everybody's perspective. I always learn something new or something I've never thought of. And it's very thought provoking. And I hope it's that way for the chat as well. We're just kicking ideas around. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen, what the future holds for the Miami Dolphins. We can only, assume and see what happens. But again, I appreciate all of you for joining tonight. Again, thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Greg. Courtney, where can they find you? And are you going to be a regular on the Finns Talk Sports Network?
They can find me everywhere at doll_fan, PHAN 72. Yes, Doll's Diaries she comes and goes. Life's a little crazy. I'm hoping to be back next week. No promises, but Doll's Diaries, you can always find me on Finns Talk Sports Network. I pop on to podcasts all the time. I love it. Hosting my own is just exhausting, but yes, I will be back.
Great. That's great to hear. Greg, and where can they find you? Are you a regular now? Are you going to be on overtime now?
We're still trying to get overtime to be regular, but yeah, I think Evan and I will be on Friday, or at least we sort of talked about it this week. And we're going to try to get Brett involved again as well. So we're
great.
We're going to get involved, but yeah, I'm kind of like Courtney. I pop in and out of here all the time. So it's fun. I like doing this stuff, and we've had plenty to talk about here since Friday. So
yep, for sure. Sure. Yep. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks again, panel, for showing up tonight. I really appreciate it. All right. Another show. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel.
Yep.
And good night, everyone, and God bless.